This is the repaint project that we're going to do from start to finish. It looks a little rough right now, kind of blasé, but when we get done, it's going to be really sharp. It's a lot of water damage just from exposure. This is more, it's typical, but this has got the tan and bleed coming through. This wall's got a lot of discoloration in it. Something's bleeding through. This is some more typical water damage, which is it's wicking up and delaminating on the siding. This has just got a lot of cracking from sun, and you can see the caulk and the splits on the seams. All of that is going to be recaulked, and anything that's been compromised will be dug out. This is severely water damaged from the rain that hits this wall, gets up underneath and has just lifted it, and you can see it's just gone completely down this seam and delaminated, and to the point where it's even compromised the wood. This is the fascia, and it's had a substantial amount of weathering going on as well. And this is where it all starts, washing. These holes are an exterior speaker system and intercom system. They're going to go ahead and fill all that back in with the siding, and then we're going to patch it all back up and make it go away. Using sander, what we do is kind of go back and scrape everything with the 5-in-1. Find out. You never know what you're going to run into. When we started sanding this with the rough sander, we found it was wet, and that's why you see a lot of delaminating, especially that big spot. This wall had just an amazing amount of damage. It's on the west side of the house. It gets a tremendous amount of exposure, and it just took a beating. It's checked, it's cracked, got some wood that's been compromised that we're going to go ahead and bondo up to restore it. But we rough sanded that wall all the way down, and then we polished it out with the DA. The random DA sander, pretty aggressive. It's a dual action sander, and we used about 40 grit sandpaper to go through and knock down all of the sanding reserves. I think you remember this corner where I was showing you all the damage, and it's been rough sanded and final sanded, and you can see the degree of finish work that random DA does. This is the finish sanding. With the random DA, it just smooths everything out nice and pretty, feathers it out. So you use the rough sander just to take it down quickly, and then you use the random DA and polish it. Next phase is just the caulk and spackle process after cleaning. And after all the caulking of all the gaps, like trim up in here, seams, this kind of caulking here is more sealing up the envelope of the house. It's more than just cosmetic. It's sealing up drafts and again, waterproofing the exterior. Next step is the priming cycle. We're priming the whole thing for one reason. There's just a lot of discoloration, tan and bleeds, repairs, and anomalies in the siding. So we're putting a stain blocking primer on the whole thing. What Carlos is doing here is he's taking a brush and getting the primer deep into all the different grooves, crushing it in, making sure everything is fully blocked. Next phase is what Carlos is doing. After he's back rolled it all in, he's putting another coat sprayed so it'll be solid. Well, we're starting the finish painting, and the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to paint the underside of these enclosed soffits. They're the trim color. This is the soffit and the fascia on the upper dormers that we've painted. We haven't done the horizontal siding. What Carlos is doing now is after he's sprayed in all the grooves, he's back rolling the surplus paint onto the face of the board, and then he's going to get to the end, and then he's going to come back and spray a final finish coat on top for ensured coverage. And this is the second body color, and Carlos has sprayed and back rolled the first coat. Now he's going back over and facing off the field, and again to ensure coverage. The final thing, and probably the most rewarding thing, is doing all the trim, because that just starts to bring everything all together. Most of the trim is done by brush and roll, but on some trim we've decided to spray it in just because of the coverage that we needed to get. You can see this is the window treatment. This is part of the trim work we're doing, and the gutter and fascia has now been completed, so that's just a sampling of what it's looking like so far.